We are recording
Hello and welcome.
episode 2 of The Basement. We are chugging along. This one was a little,
Yes.
a little. It's been a long time coming.
Listen, it is the introduction to the holiday season. There are a lot of
Yeah,
games out.
yeah,
There are a
there are
lot
a
of
lot of
things
games up.
going on at work for both of us.
Yeah,
We've been busy,
this is true.
uh, but for both our sakes and the sake of our viewership, listenership,
Hmm.
something ship,
A fandom.
fandom. Oh wow, well I wasn't going to be so bold, but
I mean, that's what they are. That's that's
uh,
that's who we have to deal with.
okay.
And you know what?
It's all for the
Beggars
fans.
can't be choosers, but
Uh,
we have fans. So
but we have fans. So for the fans,
yeah,
here we are once again, and it is fun. So,
it is. It's
um,
awesome. So this time
so
we're playing a game that was on my list.
yes. Star Ocean, the second story,
Second story.
the second story.
But the first one released in America, in North America. Important to
Uh,
distinguish. It wasn't the first ever Star Ocean, but it was the first one in
right.
NA for
Yes,
PlayStation. Yeah, it was
That's
a
it.
weird setup. They started
Yeah,
with the
which is
second.
I think that's why they didn't call it Star Ocean 2, I think, is because of that specific point.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, like before, we're gonna go through we're gonna go through our highlights, our dislikes,
absolutely.
our likes, and then gonna go from there.
Yeah, break the game
Um,
down.
you being the veteran player,
Oh
um,
no, don't do that. Oh wait, didn't I go last time
you know
with
what? You're right.
Castlevania?
I
I
will
went
be
last
fair.
time.
I
So
will be
let's hear
fair.
your side first. Your
I will be
likes.
fair.
What did you like
I like
analytically from an analysis point of view?
okay. So I've got my document here.
And other big
Um,
words.
so I've got yes, Anello flies.
Yeah.
That thing. So a couple highlights. This, uh, I thought this was true, and then I looked it up 20 minutes before the recording to verify that this was true.
Preparation,
So
I
it
like
is
it.
true. Preparation. You're welcome, fans. I got you.
We never let our fans down.
Never let
Thank
them
you for
down.
being a fan.
This is the last because it was Square Enix used to be SquareSoft, and then this was created by Enix, or this was published by Enix. This is the last Star Ocean game published by Enix before they were bought by SquareSoft. And then the next game was the only Star Ocean experience that I had, and not even complete experience because I did not beat the game. I just played several hours of it, which was Star Ocean 3 until the end of, or Star Ocean until the end of time, aka Star Ocean 3.
Hmm.
Whatever. This game highlights um, semi voice acting during the battles.
Yeah.
So like you have instances where the battle starts and then Claude, which is your main character, unless you picked Rena, um, you have one of two protagonists that you pick to play throughout the game. Um, they talk and say something to you at the beginning of the battle, and then they say something at the end of the battle. Um, to the point where it's not totally horrible. I mean, I wouldn't
Hmm.
call the voice
I love it.
recording good. I don't know. I don't dislike it. The quality of the recording, because of what we're talking about, the technology we're talking about, it's on a CD. The whole game is on there. The bit rate of the recording is pretty shit.
It's basically Blu-ray quality.
Totally, totally. For Blu-ray quality in 1999. Um, but that said, I like it. I like the it adds some depth to it. Just it's just kind of one of the technical aspects of the game that are pretty good. Now I looked up as to when this game came out.
Hmm.
It came out in '99, right?
Did it?
It came out in '99.
Do you know I was 7 years old?
Yes.
I was
No, I
seven.
didn't know that.
I was
You were
too I
seven
was
years,
too young to play this game,
and yet you played this game.
and I played this game.
So
Well, it
yeah,
was a
so
gift.
I
It was given to me. What? So back when I was playing
what a
D and
great
D,
gift.
it was amazing. It was arguably one of the best, and not from like a. It was one of the most enjoyable. Maybe is a better way to put it. I've had probably better gifts, but it was certainly one of the most enjoyable, and certainly from a gaming perspective, probably one of the best games I've gotten as a gift. It might be the best game. Back when I played Dungeons and Dragons a lot with Dad and a couple of his friends,
Yes.
it was one of the guys from that group said, "Hey, I've got this game for PlayStation. I believe it was PS1. It was definitely PS1."
Correct.
And he's like, he let me borrow it, and he's like, "Yeah, just keep it. By the way, here's the Prima strategy guide." It was my first Prima guide, and it
For
was
Star Ocean?
yeah, it was
Really?
Star Ocean, yeah. And this
Okay.
game absolutely blew me away. I'm not gonna say any more because I'll save it from my side. It's still your turn, but I just wanted to throw
Yes,
that out
yes.
there. That's what introduced me to the game. Was it was actually a gift, and I mean here I am. What you said? What year is 99? You said?
99, yes.
Yeah.
I looked that up before we had this recording
So
here.
here we are, 17 years later,
Yeah.
and
And it's hot. I mean, the game holds up.
yeah,
There are issues. We'll get to those in a moment. Um, but the game holds up. And what I was saying, what I was getting at with the release date on this thing, was the voice acting is one of the technical aspects in this game that okay, this is a late PlayStation. This is a game late in the PlayStation life that pushed that platform to the edge of what it could do. So one of the other things I liked, other than that kind of weird pockets of voice acting in the game, is the items within the menu. Holy crap, guys! Like if you go into the menu in this game, you're expecting okay, it's just gonna be standard text, and for the most part, it is. Standard JRPG late '90s uh, text menu. RPG menu from any game really. Even nowadays, it has similar menus, which is great. One of my favorite games of all time is the game series of all time is the Final Fantasy series, and these are two Japanese companies that came together at the end later on, and they have similarities, and you can see those similarities in this game. Has a very '90s JRPG feel to it, but I digress there. Um,
no, I think that's a good point to bring up because especially because if for anybody who out there who's like me who maybe sometimes struggles to play older games and it's
yeah,
extremely shallow, but because of graphics or oh no, it's an old game, we've come so far, like why go back?
I
Like
don't think it's shallow. I don't. Some games just don't hold up. That is an honest statement. Some games, the
mhm,
visual appeal is part of it, and if it doesn't, and if it's not good, then it kills some of the gaming experience.
for sure. And not only is this a
Um,
great game, but like you're saying, it even kind of like almost clues you in and gives you a little background, almost like reading like history, like a lore behind a game. This is like lore for the developers and for the companies that then went on to Final Fantasy. Yeah.
right.
So,
Um,
but that's
no,
that's that's your specialty. You can speak more to that than I can for
yeah.
sure.
Final Fantasy is later on in our list. We will
That's true.
talk hours on that.
I'm excited for
It
that.
won't turn into that, but it's gonna be good. I think I'm gonna enjoy that. Anyway, you get into this. I was getting into '90s feel. I was digressing there. We had to continue.
It's tough not
If you,
to.
yeah, it really is. And we only have a few out. To be completely transparent to everybody, we have Zach obviously has played the game a lot in his childhood. Then we played it again for this recording. I have several hours of play. Um, Zach has a few hours himself to play so that he can refresh his mind, and now we're having this quote unquote retrospective. There's I- we cannot expect somebody to play a 60-hour JRPG and give a retrospective. Like, let's keep it real here, guys.
Especially when we've got a list of 20, more than 20 games we want
Yes,
to go through. Oh
exactly.
man.
Right, but still,
We want to
again,
we want to keep this all within the 8 years of Donald Trump presidency.
yeah,
We're
please.
gonna finish before before.
Before we destroy ourselves, we want to get this done. So bear with us, guys. Anyway,
I gotta stop
um,
interrupting you. Go on, go on, go on.
no, I'm digressing as well. You enter the menu in this game, and you start seeing 3D models of the items inside
Mhm.
of your inventory, and not only your items, but like your weapons, accessories,
Mhm.
key items. It's such a cool feature, and it seems so stupid to just kind of say until you're experiencing it, and then you play other JRPGs of that same time, even my beloved Final Fantasy. That was not part of that. It's such a clean, crisp inclusion to this game. It's such a good little inclusion that it needed to be mentioned. Like
Yeah.
amazing. Um, music is great. Uh, else can I say? Some 90s JRPGs have some of the best music out there. It's
Hmm.
amazing. My favorite so far, and again, I only have several hours into the game. Um, my favorite one so far is the music that's playing when Claude has a flashback about his dad on the
Oh,
spaceship. It has
yeah.
like a weird kind of like a spacey sci-fi feel. I loved it. Like I was like, oh man, like this sounds really really good. Um, I'm gonna have to look up the soundtrack for this game.
Hmm.
It's amazing. Um, Another thing that I liked, the sci-fi aspect introduced to the
Yes.
classical fantasy, uh, you know, archetype, if you will.
Hmm. And done very well too. Not it's not
Yeah,
just like two different styles jammed together.
yeah, no,
Like
it's not drawing. It's
yeah,
definitely not.
it's no, it's incredible how they. Well, I'll get that into that in my point, but yeah, I love how it just they blend it so well. Like even the music, the art styles, the everything just flows so seamlessly between the two that it's not distracting at all to switch from fantasy to sci-fi and then back. It's
Yeah, yeah. It's meshed really, really well. Yeah, and if you like the RPGs, and I mean, it's a good game. All right, let me get into. Well, let's do. You know what? Let's do. You want to do your likes first before I go into my dislikes?
we'll be here all night. Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and do my likes. Man, yeah, a lot of the things that you've been saying, for me, like I told you before, is getting it at such a young age that this has a huge nostalgia kick for me. Even just loading up into it, but especially the music. I believe the main song is Verdant Forest, which is when you first, not the main song, but that's the song that plays when you first land on the planet, kind of
Yeah, you
pretty near
told
to
me
the
that
beginning.
that
Yeah,
was one of your favorite
yeah,
ones.
man, because this was again back as a kid. Like I didn't, there wasn't really there wasn't YouTube at all. There wasn't Spotify. There wasn't SoundCloud. There wasn't all this stuff. And especially as a kid at 7, 8, 9 years old, like I didn't have access to that, even if that were around. This is what I would put this on. I would load up that scene and just leave Claude standing there in the forest as I would lay down to go to bed and just let that music loop.
Yeah,
Incredible, so good, just incredibly good. So definitely the music was great. I mentioned that it was my first Prima guide. And
yes.
that wasn't just okay, cool. I had a guide. I mean, that was back when GameFAQs had all the crazy people sit there in Notepad and make all the artwork and stuff in the manuals.
You know what? Those guides really used to mean something. Not so much anymore, and I think they've become kind of this weird kind of like plus accessory that these game stores are kind of screwing people over with. But that just may be me, or maybe that's just me being an old man now and not wanting to spend $30 on a booklet where I could get any information I want seamlessly from the internet,
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
But those books really, really, really meant something back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you were 7 when this game came out. I was 99, 13, 14.
You're about
I mean,
45. How old are you?
yeah,
45, 50 something?
I was 20. I was 20 in 1999.
Oh, man.
But
What an old man. Where's your walker? Because you've been.
anyway, it those guides are like I remember my guide for Ocarina of Time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just those guides were really something special, man. And
And they were it's such good so good for immersion even though you could get I mean yeah even though it was factual you got so much kind of like side views and background and things that for me it was as much of an immersion builder as in like a lore background builder as any of the regular books and we talked about in Lunchcast the Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate
yeah,
was my first game where I actually had the book series with it. And same way with that, even though the Primo was a strategy guide, I mean it kind of did that same thing for me where it really hooked me in so that even when I was sitting in class or in between classes at lunch, walking home, like I would take the book with me everywhere. It was attached like glue, and
yeah,
just pour over and just be obsessed with it, with the art, with the
yeah.
story, with everything. Just really like falling in love with the characters, even characters that I hadn't met yet, so that when I did meet them, it was like, oh, I already know so much about you, and especially as a kid, but most importantly as a gamer.
Yeah.
No labels as a gamer.
No labels.
That's just such an important aspect is having that connection and that relationship with characters, with
No, I
those
think
pixels on the screen.
no, absolutely. I mean, I remember walking around with my we go again. Another comparison. Final Fantasy 11. My strategy guide for that. I mean, that thing. That I carried that thing as often as I did all my textbooks. Like it was always with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I would leave homework at home. I would forget homework before I would forget
yeah,
a Prima
absolutely.
strategy guide. Like that was with me more than anything. So yeah, definitely there's the music and there's that nostalgia kick. The like I mentioned before, the way that they blend fantasy with sci-fi, they do it so well, and it's so like it really just it makes sense the way that they do it. So that it's not distracting and it's not this yeah, it's not forced to at all, even though there's so like dynamically different ways that you can take a game or take a story. They blend it so well. I love how even at this point in time, and granted, when the game came out, it may have been good or impressive at the time, but even now, again, 17 years later, looking at it, the way that they can take a 2D flat environment, flat screen, and it's almost like because they're showing you less than modern games do, the world feels bigger. I mean, you're trapped on initially you land on this planet and you're kind of trapped here, and yet the planet still feels big, but you're in this small community as a small part of it trying to help them, and yet you know that there's this whole universe out there. It to me is way more rewarding and makes me want to explore so much more than a game that says, "Okay, here's everything, go wherever you want." At that, I don't know what it is about that, but it just the way that they present it again, a lower pixel count, right?
Right.
Lesser graphics, and yet I'd happily play hours and hours and hours of this game before spending that much time in something else.
Well, I mean, I think the thing about that is that because you, and this can be said to about a lot of the games back then, at least the real quality ones that still kind of really stick to you now when you play them. Like, man, what a great game! Is you have a bunch of limitations due to budget, due to technology not existing, being and you having all these ideas in your head, but the technology not providing you the means to do that. You have this kind of limited windows. Okay, what can I fit in here? How can I have to force this story and force what I'm trying to say to the player. So instead of now where we have this, I mean, I don't want to say infinite because clearly that's not the case, but this massive amount, like as long as you have money, you can put as much crap in the game as you want to.
Yeah,
I mean, you just pour money into an engine and keep going and developing. Um,
yeah. That's a great point because I'm always under the, and we've talked about this too, is that I feel like constraints. What did you had a better word for it than I came up with? Constraints. What breed ingenuity? Was that it?
yes,
Creativity.
yeah. Ingenuity, I think.
So when you think about it, like I just downloaded GTA 5. Just bought Grand
Yes,
Theft Auto a couple days ago. Grand Theft Auto
great
5.
game.
Downloaded it. And I think it was something like 50 gigs. Or was it? No, Elder Scrolls Online was over 50 gigs to download.
Ah, yes,
This
yes.
game fit on a couple of CDs, right? Like that was their constraint is they couldn't games weren't as optimized, and with all so it's almost like every time that they put a line of code, it needs to have a purpose. Like every line of dialogue, every bit in a song, like everything needs to have a purpose and really fill a bigger role. And that's why the it needs to be, the whole needs to be greater than the sum of the parts.
Yes.
And I think with older games they did that, and I think you bring up a really good point. In modern games, what does Bethesda care? They'll put 50 or 60 gigs, and probably a lot of that is walking through a village, and it's like unnecessary side conversations and whatever. And yet,
That's-
I can walk through this starting town, not hating, not bashing them or
No,
whatever.
we're not bashing them. It's
Yeah.
just a very clear difference as to
Hmm.
um like one can put in an asset inside of one of these AAA games nowadays, and they really don't care. Like they don't care. There can be aspects of the game where they don't care. Whereas if you're taking up, like you said, that little bit of space, if you're taking up um, resources, the few resources that you have, whether that be space or money or whatever, to implement something in this game, then man, you better have fought for it. Like you better have really pushed it on your producer or your director or whatever, saying, "Hey, I really want this in this game. This is why," and kind of passionate for it.
Hmm.
You could have easily given those resources to something or somebody else. So
Yeah.
no, I don't think you're bashing out them at all.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the earliest things, so the start of this game, for anybody who would be interested in starting it up, and I highly recommend picking it up somewhere and
Yes,
playing it.
yes.
Um,
Before we continue,
yeah, was I gotta
double
throw that out
thumbs
there.
up. Like, play the game. Do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. The first part is slow, especially by today's standards. It's very slow. There's a lot of dialogue and kind of story and plot
One of my
exposition.
dislikes, unfortunately, the first couple of hours just slugs along, man.
And the thing is that I was okay with that, and I am never okay with that. I started a show yesterday. I don't want to say which one because I'm not going to call it out, but it was on Netflix. I didn't get 10 minutes into the show or into the movie because it was kind of doing a similar thing. I just didn't care. It just felt like fluff and filler. And for this game, I don't know if it I so to be totally fair, it might be nostalgia playing a big part of it, but I was okay with it kind of walking through, and like even in the town, it was just like go spend some time until whatever it was, until sundown or whatever. And I was okay going and talking and going to the different buildings and talking to the people because everything that they like, even if they only gave one line of code that spoke to that person's personality in that one bit of dialogue, to me told me more about that character and built that community so much more than when I walk in, for example, a modern RPG or MMO, and you hear a couple of people having a conversation. They could talk for a minute, minute and a half, and I feel like these 15 pixels in Star Ocean that just told me something. I get more out of that, and I loved it. I'm never okay with it, and yet I was okay with this taking a little while to get going.
There's definitely a level of tinted nostalgia glasses there. However,
Hmm.
um, because for me, it's not that I didn't care. It's just it was just a little too slow. I have expectations going into this game. Okay, this is a '90s JRPG. There's going to be a lot of really kind of long dialogue sequences. It's fine. I'm used to that. I play JRPGs forever and ever. Like I get that. It's just the beginning was just a little bit too long until I got to the action. I should
Hmm.
have been able to do more. However, that doesn't, it isn't a killer. It
Hmm.
isn't like, you know, I can't even think of an example now. Like, it isn't a situation where you're just not doing anything. It's just that it has some exposition to tell. Remember that this is a story that I think technically is a continuation of the first game, but since it didn't come out in the U.S., there's more exposition there because there's some characters. I don't know, whatever.
No, I'd believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the case is there, but I mean, there's just more. It's a really rich story that requires a decent amount of exposition. Japanese storytelling has always kind of been that way to a degree. You know, buyer beware, I guess. But come on, it's a JRPG, guys. Like, let's be fair. It's not that bad of a thing. It's just something that
Hmm.
we have to make a note.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is a good bit of dialogue in this game, so just
Yes.
keep that in mind. But
Yeah.
again, I that usually bugs me, and in this game, I don't mind it as much. It could be, they could have put less talking,
Yeah.
but
But
with as much as there is, I'm actually okay with it. It's not the end of the world.
it's not the end of the world. We'll be all right, guys.
So, so I we're kind of naturally transitioning into dislikes.
Yeah.
Maybe is if you want to go ahead and list off some of yours.
Um, this is gonna make me sound like a horrendous scrub, but I'm just gonna
Well,
say it.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
You were gonna say it.
if you're
I'll
saying it
take
for
that.
me,
I will take that bullet for you and for the
I
fans.
appreciate that.
I feel that the battle system is sloppy. I did
Mm,
eventually sort of figure it out. Where you're switching with one of the buttons to another character, and then you have them do a move. So I get it's like a real time strategy to it. I don't know. I didn't feel right to me. I was expecting more of a traditional turn base, and that's technically not what it is. Um, I don't know. It feels awkward where it doesn't need to be. Now, mind you, maybe it opens up like a bunch of other JRPGs that I've played in the past. If once you get past the 5 hour mark or something like that, 6 hour mark, then things kind of open up because you get more spells like that. But man, like that's a problem even in those games, and that's a problem in there needs to be a better. Just the battle system needs to be more organized, and there has to be a better explanation of the battle system. This
Hmm.
was in the day of when you had to kind of do the game. You had to read the booklet that came with the game.
Yes, good
Had to,
times.
you had to put several hours in before you really figured the game out. I wasn't expecting to be a master of the game in 3 or 4 hours, guys. I was expecting to have at least a decent grasp of the battle system. And
Mhm.
while I can, work my way through a battle, I wouldn't say that I feel like I have a grasp of it. Um, you know, that's just me. I'm sorry. Like I just feel the battle system was sloppy and it could have been handled a little bit. I'm sure people really are gonna flame me for that, but whatever.
No, it's a very valid point. I mean, I was just saying, even as I was loading up the game just now, we were getting ready. I'm like, I still don't know how to fight, so I'm just pressing A and leaving it on auto attack, and stuff is happening. Now, I just now figured out that so you get regular attacks, you also get some spells, some specialty skills.
Right, and then
Um,
switch between the two characters.
yeah, but like none of that is really explained. Um,
Right.
it's more kind of like you just start pressing buttons, and and once you figure it out, it's kind of okay. I get it. I can get there. But yeah, there's not a whole lot, and that was my biggest complaint in Castlevania. If you remember
Yeah.
that, that was my biggest complaint there. So I definitely have to list that as it's not. I don't think this might be as bad as Castlevania because I don't think it
Yeah.
gives you really any. But like you said, if I had the booklet with this version and I had read through it, maybe this would be.
Yeah. I mean, we're playing this.
But say, is this a product of us playing after 17 years of games having developed and tutorials coming as far as they have and intro?
There has to be a degree of that. I'm
Mm,
not going to say that. We are a product of to a degree. We all make our own decisions and stuff, but we are to a degree a product of our environment. And yeah, for the last almost decade and a half, games have been babying us. We're not asking for easy mode here,
oh, I want easy mode. Spoon
guys.
feed me.
There you go. You spoon feed you, huh?
I'd prefer
No,
that.
what I'm saying is
Kidding.
there are ways that you can easily explain to the player what the process is. You don't have to give it all away. You can leave some sort of mystery as to advanced moves and stuff like that. More than likely there is in this case. But for you not to explain the basics of your game, and on top of that, your game not being intuitive enough that the user learns that on their own after a short amount of time, is a problem. If you have a complicated system, then you need to have an explanation for it. Games like the future games we'll be playing here, Mega Man X, you don't
Mm.
need that. There's only 3 buttons to the game, four really, and that's it. But the game is simple enough that you don't ever need an explanation because the tools are presented to you in a way that you don't need to have words on the screen that say, square fires, X jumps. Like, you don't need stuff like that. But if you have a complicated system, like you do in a JRPG, most of it, there needs to be a level of explanation.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I'm
Hmm.
sorry. Um, what else did I dislike?
And that was it. Yeah, that's the only
That's
problem
really,
with this game.
yeah,
That's
that's really the only issue that I can really think of. Everything else was really fun. I told you, Zach, earlier that I had like 4 hours in. It's about as much time as I got into the game. Like a boss, the intro, um, a dungeon, decent amount of time on the world map, going through a bunch of random battles. Um, yeah, no, I really like this game. I feel bad that I probably won't be playing it anytime soon, simply because of the amount of other things that are going on, other games, the newer games that I'm a little excited about. These classic games really they only take my time when other games aren't keeping me busy.
hmm
That's usually when I visit these old. Um, but all in all, a pretty amazing experience. I would say it's a pretty it's fun. Like I said, I have very limited experience with Star Ocean, and when you picked Star Ocean as one of your top 10, it was completely out of left field.
Mhm.
and kind of was like, oh wow, like okay, Star Ocean. I was like, "Yeah." And Star Ocean 2, I was like, okay, well I never really played that. And then we started playing it. I remember we started playing it while we were on a call together,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
was and it was just like, oh wow, this game is really, really good. Like, holy crap, this I'm really like, where was I during in 1999 that I didn't play this game? And I thought about it for
Y2K.
I was
Y2K,
like,
you're in a bunker.
Y2K. I was in a bunker. No, no. I was, I, I was Y2K. I was in New York sometime, and hiding. Getting ready for the bug.
Did you made sure to take all your money out as cash, right? You emptied your
Absolutely,
bank. Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. It
Yeah,
was all in
yeah.
my mattress. Um, and then 2 years later, I deposited all. Um, no, I was probably playing at 99. 99 was the year, but that was later in the year. I was probably playing. I'm playing Final Fantasy. I was playing Final Fantasy 9. I was probably playing Final Fantasy. I think that's when. I think that's when 9 came out. Maybe it was 8 at that point. I don't know. It was either 9 or 8. I was playing one of those two games as my major JRPG at the time. And back then, because one, I had no money. Two, uh, one, I had no money, and two, I would put hours and hours and hours into a game. I was probably playing that game for months and months at a time.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. What I was getting by that is was an amazing, amazing experience, and it's interesting the level of nostalgia I got from a game that I've never played before.
I think that's a good way to put it because it's easy to understand why I get the nostalgia kick so hard is because I
Yeah.
did play. So it's interesting to hear, and it's good. I'm happy to hear that it's not just like it was that it's not as great a game as I have it in my mind simply because I played it when I played it, but that is still reflective of other gamers. You know what I mean? It's not just that hit me at that right time in my childhood where like this game really stuck, but that standing on its own, it really
It's.
is.
I think it really is a great game. I think it
Mhm.
really, really is a great game. Yeah. It's this is working out. I'm excited to play the rest of the games. This is gonna work out pretty well, especially because Star Ocean, like I said, came out of left field, and I was like, okay, well, I'm wondering how that's gonna be, and it's been great. So,
I feel like
yeah, I
Star
mean,
Ocean. You know what? I feel like Star Ocean is kind of like Firefly,
what oh, like
like
kind of
the
like
TV
it never kind
series
of took, no,
Firefly.
like it never took off,
It is
like it
like
never
this
really, yeah.
gold. Yeah, it's not as big as I feel like after watching it. It should have been. Granted, Firefly did get pretty big. I'd say Firefly is probably bigger than
No, but
Star
there's, I
Ocean was
mean,
in the
no,
gaming community, but
no, no. I think that's a fair estimate.
it's kind of a
I mean,
hidden gem. Yeah, it's
yeah,
got
yeah,
the
for
quality way beyond the.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a fair assessment to give it.
Mhm. This is one of
Yeah,
those games that I'm going to save up for my daughter and any other kids I have. But definitely, as they kind of like, I want to
yeah,
introduce them into gaming. Like they'll play
yeah,
basic ones before that, but like I've got a couple of TV shows they're gonna watch. Boy Meets World. They're gonna watch like the
yeah,
old Cartoon Network type stuff, right? They're also
yeah,
for gaming. I also want them to have kind of these experiences, whether they like it or not. We're gonna have a dad moment, and they're gonna sit down and play this game. Because darn it,
yeah.
I played it in my childhood, and I walked uphill both ways, 5 miles in the snow to get to school.
Oh, look who's an old man now. Look at
and
that.
they're
Look
gonna.
at that.
No, this is, but it really is. It is that important to me, and I think the quality is there. That if I had to pick like 3 games that, like the only like my kids can only play 3 games, and I choose what they are. Like this would be one of them. I'd be okay limiting
Yeah,
my kids to playing this as one of their,
yeah.
which is a really bizarre, odd parallel universe where that would ever be the case. I have to limit what games. Anyway, it's a terrific
No, no,
game.
no, no.
Circling
But I see
back.
what you're getting. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Stranded on an
I don't.
island. Stranded on an island is maybe a more apt analogy. I would probably pick this as one of my 3.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get a better recommendation than that. If you are stuck on an island
Mm-hmm.
with very little to eat,
Yeah,
you know probably getting hunted by some polar bear,
yeah. Or Abraham Lincoln.
or Abraham Lincoln, right?
Well, of course, my
Um,
other 2 games would be one is No Man's Sky because it's just never ending,
oh,
and
sweet
my
God.
third game would be RPG Maker. So I could just make my own games until the end of time, and then
Stop baiting the fans, please. I apologize, folks. um,
It's like asking the
yeah,
genie for unlimited wishes, right? If I
right.
can only pick one game to bring on an island, it's gonna be a Unity 3D, and it's gonna be Unreal Engine,
Hey, can I have
and I'm just
a
gonna forever
Unreal
make games.
dev kit, please? I just need an Unreal Engine dev kit, and
Hey, teach a man to fish.
there you go. Unbelievable. Yeah,
Oh
no,
shoot.
great game. Play the game, guys. It's a
Definitely.
wonderful experience. Please do so. Um, it. What is our? Well, we haven't chosen our next game
Well, you get to
as
pick
of yet.
next. You get to pick
Oh
the
no,
next
I
game.
get to pick next.
Well, you just picked up Final Fantasy, the new Final Fantasy yesterday, which
I
you are
did.
speaking very highly of. No,
Yes, I have gotten very little sleep, folks.
sparkling review.
A sparkling review. It's been an amazing game. And I haven't even reached. No, I think I just reached few hours ago. I reached the second chapter, but I have several hours in. It's an amazing game. For the newcomers, I'm not getting into a review. It's a great game. Um, it sounds like you're trying to lead me into picking one of the Final Fantasy that I have on my list. I may do that, or I don't know.
I'm
I'm
happy
gonna
with
wait on
any.
that.
No, I just pick
Yeah.
one now. Because the other thing is
I-
that like coming right out of Star Ocean to Final Fantasy, I wouldn't want to compare it, because I feel like playing one right after the other, I would find myself drawing a lot of direct comparisons. It might be good to distance it a bit, and
Yeah, let's distance it a bit.
you know what I mean, spread them out.
I think
So pick right now. What are we
I'm gonna
playing?
pick right now. I'm gonna pick
What
right
are we
now. You know what
playing,
I'm gonna
Jay?
do? I'm gonna use the example. I'm gonna jump off of the example that I had earlier, and we're gonna go to Mega Man X, which is on my
Ooh,
list.
ooh.
It is. I'm not gonna get into it. It is one of my favorite games. If you have not heard our recording on Lunchcast, go do it. We have some talk there about it. It's mostly just me ranting on about it for about 15 minutes, but I'm ranting, so go listen. And we recorded it. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think you're really gonna enjoy it, and you're going to see what I mean about teaching a person how to play a game without having to say anything. It's gonna be great. It's
I'm
gonna be
excited.
great, and we don't need as much time. We could probably put in as half of the amount of time that we did in this game,
Mhm.
and get even more out of it.
Well, if
So it
there's
would be
even half the dialogue, then I think that'll be the case.
very little dialogue. So there you go.
I like
It's
it.
mostly gameplay. So it should be good. So yeah. So stick around for Mega Man X eventually. Let's say we want to put a time frame on that and make us look like idiots, or no?
Yeah, it'll be done by tomorrow.
There you go. Tomorrow, guys. Mega Man X. You heard it here first.
Mhm.
Seacrest out.
Don't you take my line. Don't you take my line. That's it. We're through. Whatever you thought we had and I thought may have
It's
been
over.
is no longer the case.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
I banish you to unlimited dialogue and no combat.
There you go. But in all seriousness, show up, guys. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seacrest out.
Oh jeez. Bye.
Fade to black.
Fade to black. Good
That's what I
recording.
heard. That was good. That was fun. Wait, let me stop
That was
recording.
really fun.